Lawala, say no to Banku, say no to Igbeshin.
I was the head boy in my... I was...
It starts from the foundation. Everybody needs somebody. You turn a blind eye and care nothing less. So it's just business all about the money. You are so unbothered as long as they pay. So it's just business all about the money. You know they're on a fast lane, but you've got business to run, so you look away the other way. Concerns you, you don't get low, you don't kill dreams, you don't lock people for jail. War against drug abuse.
I was the head boy in my primary school, senior prefect and best graduating student in my secondary school, but drug abuse almost ruined my life.
I was on an average of 2 grams of cocaine per day.
I was taking 8 ampoules of pentazosine daily.
European shisha, cocaine.
I became a user, a dealer, and a gangster. I saw other users drowning. I knew I didn't want to be like them, but I was already trapped. My family disowned me.
My employment was terminated.
I sold my car, sold my house. I'll go out well-dressed and return shoeless, shirtless in exchange for drugs.
I was saying things that were not real, and I once stabbed myself because I felt something crawling under my skin.
I contacted NDLEA and started therapy.
I spent 3 months in therapy.
I spent 8 months.
It's easy to relapse, but your mind has to be stronger than the cravings.
Drugs does not love you. You are not the one using drugs. Drugs are the one using you. Say no to drug abuse.
Hello, doctor. Can I get the tramadol for the road? Body they pay me I check your body, then I will tell you what you need. Hello, doctor. I know it's the weather. I know it's the weather. Wait to make I check your body, then I go tell you what you need. Hello, doctor. Don't need to check me. I'm not saying I'm waiting my body. Is it your body? I don't be wait. And you wait. I don't be wait. Hello, doctor. You see, I am coming. I need good healer to enter coming. Wait to make I check your body. And you wait till you need. Give me cannabis. I need your help before it's too
Everyone this Friday the 24th January 2025. This is NDLA's Open Forum on Xspace. I'd like to tell us that indeed this is the 127th edition of this conversation. We'd like to say a very good morning and a very good evening to all our compatriots joining us from other parts of the world, especially those in Europe, America, Asia, the Middle East, and even the rest of Africa here. I am your host, Femi Babafemi, and we're live from the national headquarters of Nigeria's premier anti-narcotics agency, the NDLA, located in the nation's federal capital territory, Abuja. We'd also like to inform you that this is a platform where we share information, knowledge, and raise awareness about substance abuse and its devastating impact on human lives, public health, our society, and indeed our environment is not spared. This platform also serves as a channel for us to provide help to those struggling with substance abuse, especially those in need of treatment. It is equally a means for us to update you about all the activities of the agency, especially what we're doing to curb the scourge of substance abuse and illicit drug trafficking, as well as getting your feedback so that we can continue to improve on our deliverables and serve you, the society, and indeed humanity better. It's also my pleasure to inform you that this conversation is recorded and is streamed live on our other social media handles, especially at NDLA01 that's at NDLA01 on Facebook and at NDLA TV on YouTube. You can always go back to it after this conversation and take a listen to the recording and even share with others. Yeah, before I invite, I can see our guest already well seated. But then before I get to her, let's quickly remind you of some of the activities of the agency this past week, and that comes in our news highlight segment, which will be taken by Netta and Ife. Netta, please, let's have the updates for this week. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Good day to everyone, and thank you for joining us on this week's Xspace. My name is Netta Wedozier, and here are the NDLEA news highlights for the week. First, the headlines. NDLEA arrests India-bound nursing student over attempts to ingest 76 wraps of cocaine. Intercept illicit consignment heading to Borno, Kano, Abuja. Nabs 33 suspects in Lagos, FCT, Kano, Kwara, Kogi, Taraba raids. An attempt by 26-year-old Esther Onyinyechi Uzodima, a 200-level student of nursing at the Noida International University, Uttar Pradesh, India, to swallow 76 wraps of cocaine hours before her return flight to the South Asian country through the Malam Aminu Kano International Airport, Makia Kano, has been thwarted by operatives of the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency, NDLEA. Esther was scheduled to return to Delhi, India, from Makia Kano on Qatar Airways Flight 1432 on Friday, 17th January 2025, but was arrested in her room at 11:30 p.m. on Thursday, 16th January, at Royal Park Hotel, Sabon Garin, Kano, while awaiting the cocaine consignment she was to ingest before her flight the following morning. Her lid was blown open when NDLEA operatives on patrol along Okene Lokoja Highway in Kogi State on Thursday, 16th January, intercepted 31-year-old Cosmas Okorie in a commuter bus coming from Lagos en route Kano. Inside his black polythene bag was an audio speaker which was used to conceal 76 pellets of cocaine weighing 1.340 kilograms, which he was going to deliver to Esther in Kano. A swift follow-up operation in Kano led to the arrest of the female nursing student later same day. In her statement, Esther claimed the drug cartel she was working for recruited her in India and paid for her trip to Nigeria to enjoy her Christmas and New Year holidays. To avoid her parents knowing she was in Nigeria, Esther did not travel to her home state, Imo, but was lodged for 2 weeks in a hotel in Enugu, from where she was flown to Abuja and then Kano, where she was lodged at Royal Park Hotel to swallow the 76 pellets of cocaine sent to her from Lagos before taking her Qatar Airways flight to India on Friday morning. She said she was promised over $5,000 upon successful delivery of the illicit consignment in India. In another operation along the Okene-Lokoja-Abuja highway, NDLEA officers arrested 4 suspects: Abdullahi Umar, Tijani Samalia, Lucky Obote, and Abubakar Haruna, who were heading to Maiduguri, Borno State, Kano, and Abuja in commuter vehicles with over 38,000 pills of tramadol, 225 milligrams, 250 milligrams, and 100 milligrams concealed in audio speakers and cloths. In Lagos, operatives of a Special Operations Unit of the agency on Tuesday, 14th January, raided the hideout of a 59-year-old Wokedi Emeka Jonas in Ojodu Bega area of the state, where they recovered 10 parcels of Canadian loud, a synthetic strain of cannabis weighing 4.9 kilograms, as well as different paper bags he uses in dispensing the psychoactive substance in retail quantities. Printed on them include street names and codes such as Dead Man, Gelato Top Shelf Smoke, Top Shelf, and Gelato Cake. In another operation in Lagos, operatives of the State Command of the agency on Wednesday, 15th January, raided a house in Igondo town area of Alimosho, where they arrested 3 suspects: Isaac Vincent, Ebube Ikechi, and Christopher Osifo, from whom 1,610 kilograms skunk, a strain of cannabis, and 6 kilograms pills of tramadol were recovered. Also recovered from the house were a delivery van and 3 other vehicles used for distributing the illicit drugs. 2 suspects, Olashile Okoya and Mohammed Ibrahim, were arrested on Sunday, 18th January, when NDLEA officers raided their home at 5A Addison Palmer, Cadogan Estates, Castle Rock Avenue, Osapa Lekki, Lagos, where 28 kilograms of Canadian loud were recovered following credible intelligence. Not less than 67 kilograms skunk was seized from Sahid Suleiman on Thursday, 16th January, when NDLEA operatives raided his Edumare Street, Lagos Island hideout, while various quantities of assorted illicit substances were recovered from Adamu Abdullahi on Tuesday, 14th January, when Jerry Irabi Estate, Lekki hideout, was raided by NDLEA officers. They include 3.7 liters of codeine syrup, 10,000 pills of tramadol, 1,670 tablets of refinol, 6.5 kilograms cannabis, 3,100 tablets of diazepam, 10,090 tablets of Molly, 5,500 tabs of XO5, 1.2 kilograms crisps of wrapped methamphetamine, and a monetary exhibit of 623,650 naira. In Kano, 2 suspects, Usama Adamu and Isa Ibrahim, were on Friday, 17th January, arrested at Dawakin Tofa local government area, where a total of 7.6 kilograms skunk, 78 tubes of rubber solution, and 356 bottles of sock and dye, a new psychoactive substance, were recovered from them. In another raid in Kano, Usman Isa was nabbed along Zaria Road with 114 blocks of skunk weighing 49.8 kilograms. 3 suspects, Lawali Isiaka, Umaru Isiaka, and Muhammad Kabiru, were on Wednesday, 15th January, arrested by NDLEA operatives with 390 tablets of Molly and 65.5 kilograms of cannabis at Bode Sadu in Moro local government area of Kwara State, while Samuel Ubu was nabbed with 25,000 pills of tramadol by operatives along Bukari Zaki Ibiam Road, Bukari local government area, Taraba State. In series of raids in Abuja, a suspect, Rufai Hashimu, was arrested at Gwarimpa village area of the FCT with 118 bottles of codeine-based syrup, while 13 others were nabbed in other locations such as Area 1 IDP Camp, Gishiri, Zuba, Day, AYA, Lagos Street Gariki, Karu, and Lugbe. Recovered from them include different quantities of tramadol, diazepam, and methamphetamine. While commending the officers and men of Lagos, Kogi, Special Operations Units, Kano, Kwara, FCT, and Taraba Command of the agency for the arrest and seizures. Chairman, Chief Executive Officer of NDLEA, Brigadier General Mohammed Bubamara retired, urged them and their compatriots across the country not to rest on their oars as they intensify their balanced approach to drug supply reduction and drug demand reduction efforts. That's it on arrest and seizures. Next is the update on some of the weather activities across the country for the week, brought to you by my colleague Ifetoluwa Nimi Oni.
Thank you, Nexra. My name is Ifetoluwa Nimi Oni, and here are some of the weather activities across the country for the week. Drug abuse continues to pose a significant threat to the well-being of individuals and society at large, affecting lives, families, and communities. To curb the scourge, NDLU remains resilient in mobilizing the society through its War Against Drug Abuse Water Social Advocacy Initiative, leaders, parents, and youth to buy in and take ownership of the fight against substance abuse. By emphasizing grassroots engagement, widespread awareness, and community participation, the water campaign seeks to empower every individual to take a stand, recognizing that tackling drug abuse requires collaborative efforts and shared responsibility. On Monday, January 13th, 2025, the Katsina State Command of NDLEA delivered a sensitization lecture to students and staff of Business Apprenticeship Training Center.
There, Neta and Ife, welcome back from the news and live segment. Now let's remind you about some of our rules guiding and approve you to be on the speaker's corner. Please ensure that you remain muted until seconds so that we can cover a lot of ground. Don't forget that in the last 15 minutes of this conversation, we'd always have a narco quiz where we test our knowledge and our understanding of the drug issues. And then we have 3 winners who would psychiatric doctors that are available on call. All you need to do, wherever you are in any part of the country, is to call our toll-free helpline. That is 0800 1020 3040. Our toll-free helpline again is 0800 1020 3040. Call the number, you are not paying for it. And then you have experts on the other line. That is those struggling with substance abuse, their friends, their family members, or anyone who wants to give the agency any information about the problem of drugs in their neighborhood, in their environment, and then you can always call that toll-free helpline. You'll be attended to. This is all part of our efforts to ensure that everyone that needs to get help indeed gets help. No one needs to be afraid of being judged or being stigmatized. All you need is to call our toll-free helpline and you will be treated with utmost respect and confidentiality by our experts on the other side of the call. Now that's as far as the NDLA call center. Okay, I can also tell you more about the call center. I'll tell you that indeed the center is language friendly, meaning that if you cannot speak English or pidgin English, our experts, they can also talk with you in any of the 3 major Nigerian languages, that is Hausa, Yoruba, Igbo. So you really do get to everybody, right in the villages, right in the local communities where people may be for all right, that is that. Now, let's quickly introduce our guest speaker today, and that is Dr. Shibuzo Anoje, a consultant psychiatrist. She will be speaking with us today on substance abuse and co-occurring mental disorders, risk factors, treatment, and preventive measures. But before she comes on, let me tell you more about her. Like I said, our guest speaker today is Dr. Shibuzo Ogom Anoje, a consultant psychiatrist. She holds an MBBS degree obtained from the University of Benin City, Edo State, South Nigeria. She is a fellow of the West Africa College of Physicians. She is very familiar with the World Health Organization Mental Health Gap Action Plan, that's GAP. She has been involved in the capacity building of different cadres of health workers on the MH gap in Nigeria and even in other countries like Cameroon. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Shibuzo Anoje as I invite her to unmute herself now while we listen to her. Spend the next 30 minutes thereabout discussing our topic for today, and that is substance abuse and co-occurring mental disorders, risk factors, treatment, and preventive measures. Please go ahead with your presentation, Dr. Shibuzo. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. And thank you for having me today. I will be discussing substance abuse, co-occurring mental disorders. the case may be, that person has lost, let me just start by saying that the individual has lost control over the use of that medication or that drug of abuse. Usually people just don't go into having substance use disorder. It usually starts with harmful use. So where you have this person taking the drug maybe like once a day or twice a day. But after a while, they lose control over that use. They are no longer able to control the use of that drug. They find out that they use the substance in large amounts than intended and over long periods. The individual also finds out that they spend time obtaining the medication or obtaining the drug. They spend time using it. They spend time trying to recover from the effects of the medication. So if someone has smoked cannabis and is feeling drowsy, while other people are doing something else, this person is sleeping. So the person is spending time recovering from the effects of the medication. Now there's a strong craving, strong desire to use this medication, this drug. The person gives up important activities. So while if it's a young person, while the person's mates are going for lectures, or the person has to be at work in the morning, while other people are doing this, for people who abuse alcohol, they find out that, when they wake up in the morning, the first thing they want to do is drink. So we call it eye-opener. They wake up in the morning and what they want to do is drink alcohol first, while some other persons are preparing to start their day. So this individual spends time or gives up important activities because they are using these substances. Now, they continue to use these substances despite problems that they face at work. So this person has had queries. This person or this individual is not doing well in school. His grades or her grades are falling. And the individual continues to use. And then you also find out that this individual is using this substance even in hazardous conditions. So you have someone who is drinking while driving. And then finally, there's what we call tolerance and withdrawal. So I gave an example earlier where I said that you find someone who was initially using maybe smoking is one cannabis and was using a wrap, and after a while now realizes that the feeling I used to get from taking a wrap of cannabis, I don't get that feeling anymore. I have to use 2. And then gradually it increases to 3. So that's what we call tolerance. And then when this person reduces the amounts they take or the day they don't take it, there are certain symptoms that they feel. So some individuals complain that they are not able to sleep, they get very irritable the day they don't use the substance or the day they try to reduce it. So when you have all these symptoms that are just painted, you now say that someone has a substance use disorder. That's person has substance abuse or substance use disorder. So now we've talked about that. Let's also talk about mental health. What is our understanding of mental health or mental illness? You cannot talk about mental illness without understanding what mental health is, first of all. So WHO has said that mental health is defined as a state of well-being that allows people to cope with life's stress and that you can work and contribute to your community. So that means that, we all have we are all faced with stress every day. But the ability for you to have that ability to cope with stress that comes your way every day, and you are able to continue to contribute to, you're able to function, you're able to contribute to your community, your place of work, where you live, where you worship, that means that you have good mental health. Now, when someone has a mental illness or has a mental health challenge, what that means is that the person has a problem or a disturbance in their behavior, and they are not able to regulate their emotions, and even there's a problem with their cognition, that is the way they think. And when that happens, they are not able to function. The person cannot function. So let me give an example here. A lot of times we confuse sadness and depression. We all get sad once in a while. Of course, when we are faced with adverse life events, if someone gets a bad news, if someone has lost a loved one, loss of job, losses of any kind can make you sad. But of course, it's expected that after some time, those feelings of sadness goes away. You are able to get out of it and go about your day-to-day activities. And then when you remember that event, of course, you feel sad about it, and then it goes away as well. But when someone is depressed, the sadness doesn't go away. It goes on for months, weeks, it goes on for months, and it starts to affect the person's functioning. So you're not able to function. You go to school, you're not concentrating. In fact, sometimes the person is not able to get out of bed to do the things that they normally would do. You're not able to eat and all of that. So functioning becomes impaired. And when that happens, it's now an illness. It's not just like emotions that someone has from day to day in your interaction with people. So why is this important? Why is co-occurrence? When we say co-occurrence, that means that you have two or more illnesses happening at the same time in an individual. Why is co-occurrence of substance use and other mental health disorders? Why is it important? Now, it's important because a lot of research has been done, and it shows that people who have both substance use disorder and other mental health disorders, that they usually spend more time in the hospital. They are the ones who would seek medical care much more than people who have either of these disorders alone. So if someone has substance use disorder alone or has other mental health disorders alone, the burden on the healthcare system is less. If the individual has both conditions, the burden is more. You have more frequent admissions in the hospital, and then studies have also shown that there's increased risk for self-harm. So what are the common mental health disorders that usually co-occur with substance use? Depression. Depression is a very common mental health disorder that occurs in individuals that have substance use. Anxiety disorders, post-traumatic stress disorder, schizophrenia, and even personality disorders. So these are the commonest types of mental health disorders that occur in people or co-occur with substance use in individuals. So what are the risk factors? Before I even go into that, it is important to know that risk factors are characteristics. These are characteristics of things that raise the chances of something happening. So it's important to understand what risk factors are. So risk factors are characteristics. They are things that will raise a chance of something happening. So when I say risk factors, what are the characteristics that increases the chance of someone having a mental health disorder and or substance use problem? And there are many. I grouped them into 3 or 4 groups so that it's better for us to understand. So the risk factors for mental health and substance use disorder, number 1, biological factors. That's biology, the things that occur in the individual. If an individual has a family history of mental illness, it increases the risk factor or increases the risk of that person having a mental health and substance use problem. It is important to know here that we are different in the way we metabolize drugs. So metabolize means that when you take a medication, whether it is Panadol or whatever it is, and even drugs of abuse, the way that your liver breaks it down differs from individual to individual. And it has been shown, research has shown that because of this, there are people who are at more risk than having addiction problems compared to others. So we have seen that even in practice, there are people who drink alcohol and it doesn't seem to have any problem for them, and there are others who take it and they don't seem to be able to control the way they drink it. There are people who have smoked cannabis, and when they take it, the effects that they feel, they don't like it, and they ask us like, what is it? This is the same cannabis that other people smoke, and they can't seem to stop. Doc, I tried it once. I mean, a friend gave it to me in the university, and the day I took it, I just did not like it. I didn't even like the way it made me feel, and after that day, I didn't smoke it again. And then there are others who, unfortunately, that was how their addiction started. They go to someone's house and the person maybe made a pot of Indomie and put cannabis inside, and this person unknowingly ate it. And then after eating it, the individual tells us, Doc, the day I ate that Indomie, the way I felt, I've never felt that way before. It felt so good. I felt so nice. And I went and I asked this person what he put in that Indomie, and the person told me it was cannabis. And that was how I started smoking it. So these are biological factors. So there are two things I mentioned here. If there's a genetic family history of mental illness, it increases the risk in an individual. Number two, which is what I just talked about, it is called neurobiological factors. So the way your body metabolizes or breaks down medications when you take them, it has a way. That is what will predispose someone, whether the person would abuse drugs or not. Apart from that, we have psychological factors. Trauma and stress is very, very well known to predispose people. It's a very important risk factor. When people have been exposed to traumatic events and stress over a very long period, they can develop mental health problems. And they can even develop substance use problems, because people sometimes want to cope with the stresses of life, want to cope with traumatic experience that they've gone through. If someone, for example, I had a patient of mine who was brought in for substance use disorder. She had been abusing cocaine and cannabis, and then she was in her 30s. And it was while I was taking history from her, getting to know her, finding out what had gone on with her, I discovered that she had been sexually abused as a child, and nothing was done about it. And then over the years, she couldn't cope with the trauma of what had happened to her, and she started using substance to cope. And then every time she took something, it helped her to calm down. So trauma and stress is very, very important. It's a very, very important risk factor. Now, environmental factors will include social environment. This is very important because of our youths, because of our adolescents. We have peer pressure under this group. A lot of times, children who, when they're adolescents, they want to belong to certain peer groups. They are afraid, that if I don't do what this person has asked me to do, they won't let me be their friend. A lot of times, they are not very assertive at that age. So peer pressure is a very, very important risk factor. Now, other important environmental factors are availability of these substances. We have, like in Nigeria here, we have, there are some tribes where drinking alcohol is a norm, is a societal norm. Now, you won't be surprised where if you go to those areas and you find out that alcoholism is very common in those places, and even things like liver cirrhosis and liver problems, they will be quite common in those areas. So that's also another important social or environmental factor. Environments that lack support systems are also important risk factors. So if a person or a child lives in an environment where there's lack of social support, in a community where there's lack of social support, in an environment, in a home where there's lack of social support, there is increased risk in that person developing mental health challenges and even substance use disorders. Now, an important factor here, that which is the last one that I'm going to talk about, is developmental factors. And like I mentioned before, this is separate. I mentioned it among peer pressure, but this is also very important. Under developmental factors, you have adolescents. Now, the teenage years, like I had mentioned, are a very critical period in a person's life. And it's important because the brain is still developing. Unfortunately, adolescent period is very, you have commonly in that age group risk-taking behavior. You know, a lot of adolescents want to try out new things. There's a lot of risk-taking behavior in that age group. So that is also a very, very important risk factor. So what I want us to understand with the risk factors is that you have risk factors that can cause both mental health disorders and substance use disorders in one person. So you can have risk factors, okay, that is common to both of them. If someone has suffered from a traumatic event, that is a risk factor that can cause both mental health, that is a risk factor that can cause both mental health problems in an individual and substance use. If someone has had a traumatic event, the person will develop depression. The person would use substances to try to cope with the issues that they have. Now, it's also possible that substance use disorders can cause mental health problems. So if someone is using cannabis, the person can develop what we call schizophrenia, or a psychotic disorder where the person loses touch, sort of, let me put it in layman's terms, where the person loses touch in reality. The person starts hearing voices of people that are not there, starts becoming paranoid. So that is substance use causing a mental health problem. Then you can also have mental health challenges causing substance use disorder. So you can see that it's all intertwined. Now, an example of that would be someone who has depression. So I'm suffering from a depressive illness. I'm not able to sleep. And I've just realized that whenever I take alcohol helps me sleep. Whenever I take alcohol, I feel a little bit better. And then before you know it, it escalates. It may have started as harmful use, like I use it once in a while, I use it every other day. But after a while, I lose control over the way I'm feeling, and it now escalates into a substance use disorder. So you can see that all these risk factors are intertwined together. So we've talked about the risk factors. What are the treatment modalities for substance use and mental health challenges and mental illnesses? First of all, the treatment has to be integrated. Why am I saying this? You cannot treat either of them alone. Whatever treatment that the individual is going to get has to be integrated. That means that you are going to treat both the mental health disorder and the substance use disorder together, and it's treated simultaneously. So there has to be like a form of coordinated care between mental health professionals and those who are substance use specialists, and that is the best way to get the best treatment for individuals who suffer from both illnesses. Then we also have what we call therapeutic modalities, that is psychotherapy. Psychotherapy is a kind of talk therapy where you see a psychologist attends to you. So what happens in psychotherapy is that you help individuals to identify and change unhealthy thinking patterns and behavior that is associated with their drug use. And the commonest type of therapy that we give is cognitive behavioral therapy. So what we've seen, or what research has shown, is that when individuals have substance use disorder, or when individuals suffer from mental health challenges, sometimes or most times they have unhealthy thought patterns and they have unhealthy behaviors. So what therapy helps to do is to change those unhealthy thinking patterns, what we call cognitive errors, and it's been shown to be very, very useful. So apart from this, we also have medication or medication-assisted treatment. Now, for substance use disorders, we have, for those who have heroin addictions, we have replacement therapy, because what has been shown is that people who inject themselves, who abuse drugs of abuse like pentazocine, heroin, where they have to inject themselves, there's a lot of needle sharing, and because of that, there's high increase of HIV and hepatitis. So research has also shown that rates of HIV, rates of hepatitis is more among drug population, those who abuse drugs. So what has been done over the years now is what we call drug replacement therapy, where we have medications like methadone, buprenorphine is being replaced, so people don't have to inject themselves. They can now take opioids orally, and eventually help them to taper off their drug use. So for other drugs of abuse like alcohol use disorder, we have other medications that are also used, drugs like naltrexone. Now, that is for substance use disorder. For other mental health disorders like depression, we have antidepressants. For anxiety disorders, we have medications that can be used to treat. If the patient has bipolar disorder, we have mood stabilizers that can be used. So medication treatment is available. Now, another important treatment is support systems, which we, this is very, very popular in the Western world. Support groups like Alcoholics Anonymous, Narcotics Anonymous has also been shown to be very, very useful, where people go in and then you have support from people who have used or who were using drugs before, who were suffering from substance use and have been able to overcome this. It's important because you see someone who has gone through this same thing like you and is doing well. The person is able to support you, and even in times of temptation, when you feel like you are relapsing or you are undergoing stress, there's someone to talk to. So support groups have shown to be very, very important. Now, we are done with this. How do we prevent? What are the preventive measures? Now, the most important prevention is early intervention. So what is early intervention? Early intervention is identifying those who are at risk. So identifying individuals who are at risk. What we have seen through research is that those children who are exposed to early adverse experiences in life, such as abuse, neglect, exposure to domestic violence, are usually associated. These people go on to have substance use problems later in life, and even mental health challenges. So it is important that we create more awareness. If it is in schools, counselors, teachers should be equipped in such a way that they can easily pick up identify children who are at risk. So if in your class You have a child who keeps to himself a lot, doesn't associate with other children, doesn't play with other children. You need to find out why, invite the parents, and if you pick up a problem from the house, who do you refer them to, so that or you notice that the child is not coming to school as regularly as the child used to do before, you need to find out why. Apart from early intervention, other things like awareness, continuing education programs, creating awareness in the society about, so going to churches, going to mosque, these kind of programs that we are having on radio, creating awareness about substance use, creating awareness about mental health is a way of prevention, so that, and even it helps to reduce stigma, so that when people notice that something is going on with themselves or even loved ones around them, the earlier they seek for help, the better. Then other ways of prevention is finding a way to strengthen protective factors. So we talked about risk factors earlier on. What are protective factors? Protective factors are characteristics that reduces the chance of mental illness occurring. So, for example, in children, how do you build assertiveness in children? How do you make adolescents? How do you make a child more assertive so that he's able to withstand talking to children, incorporating it in prevention? Talking to children, incorporating it in their programs, and I know that a lot of schools are doing that now. Talking to children, even as in primary schools, you add that to the school curriculum so that you can equip youth with the skills to resist substance use and seek, and more importantly, also. Now, there's also policy and community programs. There needs to be implementation of policies that will reduce space so that they can identify and treat, and then the ones they cannot treat, in tertiary hospitals that are in the cities. So I'm going to conclude by substance use and mental co-occurring with mental health is very, very complex. Is a very complex. It requires a multifaceted approach for effective treatment and prevention. And if we all understand the risk factors and we're able to employ integrated treatment strategies, healthcare providers can better address these issues. And additionally, like I just said, that community-based preventive measures are essential so that it can reduce the incidences of both substance use and mental health disorders in the community, so that we can have healthier individuals and we can have
healthier communities. Thank you.
Of this issue today. All right, quickly, let's appreciate also, as we appreciate our guest speaker, let's also appreciate some of to say thank you to, okay, you have a namesake here, but she is Shibuzo Aquere. She's joining us from Portugal, I believe. Thank you very much. She was a guest on this platform before. Funsho Jimo, thank you for being part of this conversation. Abaya Mikaede Patrick SK, thank you for being part of our conversation today. Olani Pekunrish, Yahaya Abu Abdul Malik, thank you. Soil Whispers Nigeria, a regular on this platform. HM, I also have Dr. Hope Omeza. Dr. Hope Omeza is the founder of Vanguard Against Drug Abuse and also Isaiah Ashimugo. Isaiah Ashimugo is a regular on this platform. Anna Faith, thank you. Yawale, the mother of many nations, that's at Prominent Joseph, thank you for being part of our conversation today. Joby Simon, thank you. Thank you. Ezekiel Dorcas, Ken, that's at Ken Petros, Ajia Rama. Thank you very much, Ken, quite a while. Antip Gina Doven, thank you for being part of our conversation today. Joseph Coate, thank you for coming around. We'll definitely some questions in our DM already, so I'd like to start with that by bringing this to Dr. Shibuzo, and she will be responding to them one after the other. All right, let's take this one from Memuna. Memuna is appreciating Dr. Shibuzo for okay, let me read that, right? Thank you, Dr. Shibuzo, for that brilliant presentation. We appreciate you did mention something about neuropsychological issue as a predisposing factor, which was please break it down further so that I can have a better grasp of what you mean there. All right, thank you. You can mute yourself now. All right, please go ahead.
Okay, can I go ahead? Okay. So when I talk, it talks about brain chemistry and function. Our brain functions because of chemicals that we have in our brain. I'm sure you probably heard of dopamine before, serotonin. So there are areas in your brain that are you feel good. Of course, those you want to eat again. When someone has sex, dopamine. So all these actions that make you feel good when those things are done. Now, alterations, when there are alterations in the brain chemistry, can make someone susceptible to substance use. Unfortunately, what happens in the reward center is that when someone uses, for instance, cocaine, the amount of dopamine that your brain releases when you take cocaine is almost 1,000 times more than when you eat or do something else. And that's the problem with drugs of abuse. And that is why at the end of the day, it takes precedence over every other thing. And when I was talking about symptoms of substance abuse, I mentioned that when an individual becomes addicted, they tend to neglect every other thing that joy. So you'll be wondering why someone would wake up in the morning and the first thing you want to do is drink. If you've seen someone who is addicted, when those alterations occur, it is when you now take the substance, it makes you more at risk of using drugs because you feel happy or feel good because of alterations that has happened in your brain. I don't know if I'm clear now.
Memuna should be satisfied with that. Thank you very much, Dr. Shibuzo. Thank you, Memuna, for your question. I believe Dr. Shibuzo had cleared your doubt and made you have a better understanding of the issues. Okay, let's, I've seen some fellows of this platform. Let me quickly acknowledge them, and that's Dr. Abdullah. Dr. Abdullah is a consultant psychiatrist at the Ahmadu Bello University Teaching Hospital. He joins us on the handle of SM Mental Health. Thank you very much, Dr. Abdullah. I've also seen Dr. Asiya Adamubu. Dr. Asiya Adamubu is also a senior commander of the agency, Commander Tinker Strategic Command, Michelle Foyeju. mental health disorders increase the likelihood of substance abuse? That question from Diva, I think, has been taken care of earlier. So let's just limit it to this second half.
Yeah, so untreated mental health disorders can, like you can have them interwoven where substance abuse can lead to mental health disorders and mental health disorders leading to substance abuse. We have what we call the self-medication hypothesis or self-medication theory, where patients who have mental health disorders self-medicate and with substances, hoping that it will alleviate the symptoms of the mental health challenge that they are suffering from. So you have someone who has depression and he's not feeling better, and instead maybe doesn't know where to get help from, or alleviates the symptoms of the mental health disorder that they are suffering from.
All right, thank you there. Ediba should be satisfied with that. Let's take this one from Ejike. Okay. Okay. All right. Let me. Dr. Shibuzo. Okay. I would like to ask, because you mentioned how strong heroin can be and how our dopamine can react to it, how addictive that substance is. Now, we have quite a lot of our young people playing around.
Even research has linked cannabis to the onset of what we call psychosis. So when someone, well, if I'm to use layman's terms here, loses touch with reality, okay, you can have beliefs. You start having hallucinatory experiences, hearing voices of people that are not there, saying things, the belief could cannabis. I mean, they didn't even finish a wrap. They just took, I've had patients like that who someone introduced them to cannabis and they just feeling, they could not sleep, they started having behaving abnormal, talking out of point and all of that. And for some people, they would have smoked it for some time before they start having these symptoms. So it's actually different for everybody. And you can't tell who at what points would have symptoms, whether it's immediately they took it or it's after a while. But I would also say this, the risk of developing these symptoms, mental health symptoms, are higher if there's a family history. So if you have someone whose mother or father, sibling, or someone in the family suffers from a mental health condition, the risk is higher. Okay, so you have more risk of developing a mental health problem if you use cannabis. It's higher for that person than someone who does not have.
All right, thank you. Just as you are trying to drop the mic, AGK is firing another a follow-up on your response. Well, thank you for that response, Dr. AGK. Dr. Shibuzo. AGK is asking why do cannabis is dangerous to mental health? Why do you think some people claim the same thing makes them calm?
For that
Thank you.
question, yeah, that's a very interesting one. So it's two parts now. Yes, a lot of people who smoke cannabis will tell you that they have it calms them down. So that calming effect, that calm feeling and all, that is the dopamine release. That's the dopamine doing its work. So when you smoke it, is a reward that the effect of the dopamine, that's the calming feeling that they get. And that's to smoke one wrap, and after a while I noticed that one wrap doesn't make me calm anymore. So now I have to take 2 wraps. And then after wraps to get that same feeling that I used to get. So that calm feeling is the dopamine that's the dopamine doing it area. Then, of course, there's been this debate about cannabis and its medical use. Problems that we encounter. So for medical use, they usually would extract or remove this that causes problems before it is used medically. So it's not like the entire component that is given or used in hospital who don't have who are undergoing therapy, because chemotherapy causes loss of appetite and all of that. So it is used for patients who are undergoing it. Okay, it's used in other health conditions, even hair growth and all of that. But it is not given in its form that
what is the relationship between stress and the development or mental health conditions? Because you often hear they are stressed up, and so they have to take something to relieve themselves of the stress. Speaker, give us a vivid link or relationship between stress and this development of
events almost every day in our lives. Okay. The problem with stress is when it becomes prolonged. And of course, by the time anxiety gets to a level where you cannot function anymore, it becomes a disorder. So someone can become so anxious that they can't sleep, they go to work, they can't concentrate. You are reading, you can't even concentrate, you can't even sit down to read. You become very jumpy, you are very irritable. Stress can also cause depression when someone has undergone stress, and the stressful event too. So when you talk about stress, is it as somebody had a traumatic event? Some people have been involved in road traffic accidents where we lost a loved one, or even the person. If someone has been robbed at gunpoint or even sexually abused, raped, that's a stressful event. So all this can lead to anxiety, can lead to depression, can lead to even suicidal thoughts, can lead, and when all of this is happening, people want to find a way to cope. Unfortunately, sometimes we end up developing what we call maladaptive coping mechanisms. That is, coping mechanisms that are either through poor advice or somebody not aware that they can get help, or even stigma. Something has happened to because of all of this. Okay, stress causes mood problems, mood disturbances, where you have people becoming very, very irritable. They are not able to regulate their mood. Even stress has a way of impairing your cognition. That is your thinking. Okay, your attention. Okay, stress has a way of affecting all of those things. So when people say I'm undergoing stress, you need to actually find out what has happened before and the person is not able to cope with it, or the stress is still ongoing. You need to find out so that the person can get help. Thank you.
All right, thank you there, Dr. Shibuzo. Let's take the next one. This person wants to be anonymous because she is a student. She's an undergraduate, and she's saying, can you help ask Dr. Shibuzo if exam anxiety can be one of the risk factors for substance abuse and mental health disorder, because we see a lot
I wouldn't say it's not evidence-based, but it's important because the culture and the belief important. And for us in psychiatry now, what we practice is this is now important in present to make sure that the individual's culture is also integrated in the from their beliefs. And that's why when I was talking about community, we know that because we are very spiritual in this part of the world, when people fall ill, the first place they run to is their places of worship because that's where they feel safe. And we are now also trying to work with people in faith-based organizations too, because we know that it is important. You cannot separate the two. You cannot separate the two. So even as you're taking your treatment in the hospital, you should continue with your prayers because it's important. I mean, to the person. For those who
Before I get back to our dear Mohammed Show, if you can hear me, you are muted or mute yourself and let's get your question or contribution. Otherwise, I'll go back to our DM. Okay, he's sleeping. Okay, this one is coming from caller. Let's caller Ole in full. Okay, caller is okay. Let me just. Okay, caller Ole is asking Shibuzo. You have spoken extensively about stress, about substance abuse, and about co-occurring mental disorders. I'm also aware that quite a number of people have also said that for them, this may sound odd in the public space, but then it's a fact that people do say that sex is a relief for them to avoid going into substance abuse or going into depression under some harsh circumstances. I don't know if medically this is proven, but I think because indeed this is what I have experienced. I do hope Dr. Shibu. All right, thank you, Kola Wale. Dr. Shibu, I hope you understand what Kola Wale is trying to say here.
I think I and music is what just helps them to relax when they feel stressed. They go put on an earphone or just lock their 30 minutes, listen to something really relaxing. So for some people it's jazz and all of that. And whenever they do that, it really, really helps. So yes, if it's sex for this person, well, I think that is what helps a person to release or relieve himself or feel make when he or she is feeling stressful. Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, thank you, Dr. Shibuzo there. I have this from Shidi. Shidi is asking, um, just in relation to what our guest speaker had just said, I've also heard that some of them take opioids like to achieve delayed ejaculation, and this has led some of them to get addicted to these opioids. Can Dr. Shibuzo please break it down for us? What is in this? What are the risks? What are the dangers involved? Just so that this can be on record for our youths who often create scenarios in their minds, in their heads, and follow and take it as a
Decided that they want to use it to do something else. So most of all these drugs, codeine, tramadol, they all have side effects. But the bottom line is this. This is just about, how would I put it? Behavior that you find to their health. Okay? So someone has taken a tablet and is abusing it and has found out that apart from that I get to from it, this is what I've noticed. So let me go and tell my friend, and then we will use the side effect to this medication to our advantage. But there are also, apart from your mental health, other organs that you are damaging by doing all of this. So usually when we talk to youths, we tell them that if you are so keen on finding out new things, why can't it be in positive things and not negative? The question.
I do hope so as well. Thank you, Dr. Shibuzo. I believe Shidi, you should be satisfied with that. Okay, let's take probably the last one from our DM for today before we go to our NACO quiz. Let's take this one from Henry. Henry first is there is the tendency for people who are treated to have a relapse. Is it the same thing with mental health disorder also? Do we have a relapse in mental health disorder, especially when, because just like people who abuse illicit substance, a relapse, And so we see the same thing happen. Is it the same situation, or why do we have this relapse? Taken to treatment facilities, spent money and spent months only to come back home, and then the situation comes back. Thank you, Henry. I believe this is Dr. Shibuzo's area, so she's capable to handle that effortlessly.
Health, mental health disorder is because of the stigma that is attached with mental health, especially in this part of the world. So it's like somebody who is taking medication for hypertension. If you stop taking your medications, after some time, the blood pressure will go back up. If somebody is on management for diabetes, that's high blood sugar, if the person stops using their medications, after some time, the sugar levels will go back up. So it's the same thing with if the person stops using their medication, the illness will come back. And so that's the commonest cause of relapse. So a lot of times, someone will give them medications or admit them after the person gets well. You're supposed to, the same way you'll be seeing your doctors, if someone every 2 months or every 3 months, depending on how stable you are. So after discharge, you're supposed to continue to see your doctors. And if you're very depressed, let me stop. And the person stops. It may not, if the person stops, it's not like it's that day that they stop that they're going to fall ill. It may take some months or a year after, and then the illness comes back. So that is the commonest cause of relapse. If people do not want to hear that they are going to be, and of course, in this part of the world too, you cannot also take away burnout. Unfortunately, in the psychiatric care or mental health care is borne by the insurance. Okay, so the government, at least you go to the hospital and cared of. In this part of the world, it is the relations, patients, and their family members that bear the burden. And it's after a while, people get tired. Okay, so burnout is high. People pay out of pocket. The NHIS doesn't cover our medications, unfortunately. We've been
Hold on, let's quickly switch to uh, narco quiz segment of this show. Okay, now as we do it every week, when we have 3 questions and we expect 3 winners to emerge. When we ask the questions, please let's the correct answer on our timeline, and then we'll pick that person. That's whoever puts the correct question first, the correct answer first on our timeline. That's our winner for today for that question. And so we'll be asking 3 questions, and then at the end of the conversation, would be definitely provide also picking and answering the answers, and then would get back to them in our DM to connect with them and see how we send their wins and their gifts to them. So it's time to test your knowledge and effects, and then give you a chance to win exciting prizes. So let's get started. Here is the first question for today. First question for today: which class of drugs is known as effect on the central nervous system? Which class of drugs? I take the question again. Select whoever posts the first correct answer. Okay. Somebody is not muted. Okay, Dr. Chibuzo, you have to. Can you move? Okay, let me help her from here. Okay, that's why I'm having that interference. All right. Let's take the next question. The next question will definitely, when we're announcing the winners, will definitely be announcing the correct answers for that. I'll repeat the question again, and the second question: which organ of the body is most affected by chronic alcohol abuse, like psychosis? Which organ of the body is most affected by chronic alcohol leading to? Let me.
It starts from the foundation. Everybody needs somebody. You've turned a blind eye and care nothing less. So it's just business all over the money. You are so unbothered as long as they pay. So it's just business all over the money. You know they're on the fast lane, but you've got business to run. So you look away the other way. Concerns you, either get low, either get dreams, either lock people for jail. What against drug abuse?
I was the head boy in my primary school, senior prefect and best graduating student in my secondary school, but drug abuse almost ruined my life.
I was on an average of 2 grams of cocaine per day.
I was taking 8 ampoules of pentazosine daily.
European shisha, cocaine.
I became a user, a dealer, and a gangster. I saw other users drowning. I knew I didn't want to be like them, but I was already trapped. My family disowned me.
My employment was terminated.
I sold my car, sold my house. I'll go out well-dressed and return shoeless, shirtless in exchange for drugs.
I was seeing things that were not real, and I won't stab myself because I felt something crawling under my skin.
I contacted MDLEA and started therapy.
I spent 3 months in therapy.
I spent 8 months.
It's easy to relapse, but your mind has to be stronger than the cravings.
Drugs does not love you. You are not the one using drugs. Drugs are the one using you. Say no to drug abuse.
Just sign up. Results and then the winners. Okay, like the last question before the glitch was, which organ of the body is most affected by chronic alcohol abuse leading to conditions like cirrhosis? And then the third and the last question today will be, in which year was the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency, NDLA, established in Nigeria? What year was the NDLA established in Nigeria? Okay, so let's get to see the winners, and then before we close the conversation today, I'm waiting for my team to give me the results from our timeline. Let's quickly get the results from our timeline. I've seen some people dropping some messages. Let's quickly get the results in so that I can announce them. I've seen some. The first question, what class of drugs is known as downers because of their sedative effect on the central nervous system? That is one. That is the first question. The second question is, which organ in the body is most affected by chronic alcohol abuse leading to conditions like psychosis? And then the third question is, what year was the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency, that's NDLA, established in Nigeria? Let's quickly put that on our timeline so that we can, okay, let me see who is coming first here. I hope my team is giving me the right feedback. Okay, what's this? Okay, I believe this. Okay, question 2. Mohammed Waziri provided the answer to question 2, and that is, what organ of the body is most affected by chronic alcohol abuse leading to conditions like cirrhosis? And then the answer is liver, and Mohammed Waziri was the first to post that. The second person to post that was the real Ovioba, who also said question 2. The answer to question 2 is liver. So liver is indeed the answer, but Mohammed Waziri posted first. Okay, so let's get to see the other 2 winners quickly. Okay, who is that? Okay, Dede, that's at Uzo_AZ. I think Dede had won this before, and he's emerging as another winner today, and that is Dede. It starts for question 3. What year was the NDLA established? And he even quoted the day, the month, and the year. That's 1989. The answer is 1989. Thank you, Dede. Dede got that. Leaving us, I think we only have just the first question, and that is what class of drugs is known as downers because of their sedative effect. Okay, if I have no, if I have no winner from that, I may just have to, we may just have to close with these two winners. That's Mohammed Waziri and then Dede. My team, I hope you people will not come back to me that you've just seen the post of some other people. I'll close with these two winners now. That's the most we can take, meaning that we only have two winners today. That's good enough. That's Mohammed Waziri. Please expect a message in our DM, and then Dede was actually a winner on this space before, and he is emerged another today. Thank you very much, everyone. Guys, let's get back to close the space properly. Let's appreciate our guest speaker for today. Thank you very much, Dr. Shibuzo. I didn't get the first question. Well, no. Okay, somebody is. No, I don't think the person got it. Okay, let me announce it. Since I got a response on question one. Question one is what class of drugs is known as downers because of their sedative? I'm talking of class, not specific drug now, because of their effect on sedative effect on the central nervous system, and that is depressants. It's depressant. Somebody put benzodiazepine. Very well, that's the most we can take. Thank you very much once again. Let's get to close the space properly. Like I said, we'd like to appreciate our guest speaker, Dr. Shibuzo Ogom Anoje, a consultant psychiatrist. She's a fellow of the West Africa College of Physicians, somebody very familiar with the World Health Organization Mental Health Gap Action Plan. She's been involved in training capacity building of she's been involved in the capacity building of different cadres of health workers in this field, both across Nigeria and even in faraway Cameroon. Thank you very much today, Dr. Shibuzo, for your time, for your feelings, and indeed for those excellent responses. Thank you very much. We'd like to appreciate everyone that has been a part of this conversation, those joining us from across the world today. Thank you very much, everyone. We appreciate you. We hope to see you next week, same time again. And before I go, let me also appreciate my colleagues working with me from this side. That is excuse me, that's Rita, Shidi Musa, Dele Mahmoud, Neta, Francis, and the rest of you guys. I appreciate all that you are doing. Thank you very much. Until we come your way next week, please let's stay safe. It's Friday. We often have the feeling of letting down our guard, but please don't do it. Let's remain conscious and abstain and refrain from those things that could lead us in trouble. Do have a wonderful weekend. I'll see you next week. I'll leave you in the hands of my colleague, Mahmoud. Bye for now.
Thank you very much, sir, for guiding us throughout today's program. For more information about NDLA, our listeners can visit our website, www.ndla.gov.ng. Our social media platforms remain at NDLA_Nigeria on X, YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok. On Facebook, it is at NDLA01. Do join us same time next week for another edition of this wonderful program. I remain Mahmoud Isa.
Got what I undo you go just die true. But it undo you go just die true. Ecstasy handle you go just die true. But it undo you go just die true. Drama handle you go just die true. But it undo you go just die true. And when cocaine handle you, and codeine handle you, when it handle you go just die true. And then mama handle you, and do you just die true.